I'll apologise for my voice. I'm absolutely loaded with the cold at the minute. But I want to make a very quick video just thanking everybody for 2024. And in many ways, it's been a very, very traumatic year for a lot of people in the movement, a lot of people just in life in general. Politically, there's been massive upheaval. We've seen Tommy locked up for 18 months for showing a film, which to me is just despicable. But we've also seen some highlights. We've seen the launch of the pledge. We've seen the Unite the Kingdom or Uniting the Kingdom movement, putting tens of thousands of people on the streets in a cultural movement that's there to promote British culture and bring people together. And we've seen lots of other positives as well. Lots of people getting involved that were never involved in the Patriot movement. So those are all positives. But I want to thank people that made that happen in the background, as far as I'm concerned anyway. And again, I'm not gonna name the gentleman, but I think the first person that needs to be thanked is the guy that runs a lot of Tommy's affairs when Tommy's away or when he's in prison. And I'm not going to name him, but he knows who he is, and he does a lot of work in the background. And absolute kudos to him, having to listen to all sorts of lunatics like me, talking about all sorts of different things. So you know who you are. Thank you. I want to think about the people that work in the backgrounds when it comes to the events and the demonstrations or whatever you call them. I mean, I think I suppose in February it's going to be a demonstration because it's about a specific issue. It's about Tommy's imprisonment and the political prisoners that have been completely, probably illegally locked up. But certainly there's been massive miscarriages of justice in the United Kingdom in what's happened with our friends that have been put behind the door, sometimes for tweets, sometimes for shouting at police dogs. One man, as we know, for saying he's praying for his children. That man's now dead in Peter Lynch. And obviously Tommy, who has been completely wrongly categorised, locked up 21 hours a day, in solitary confinement, having 4 visits a week, 3 hours a day in the gym. What is that about for showing a film? So thank you to everybody that's been involved in the organisation of the demonstrations, and I mean everybody. And I'm going to name a few people here, but if anybody's not named, I'll apologise to you in advance if I've forgotten or if I've missed you for whatever reason. It's not through not wanting to thank everybody. It's a question of the people that really stood out to me. And first of all, when I think about Tommy's personal security team, and I'll not say the surnames of these people, I'll just say the first names. Andy, who's been there, a stalwart from the beginning. Martin, Archie. Those guys have made the core of that security team. And posthumously, I want to thank Andy Bomber, who very, very tragically took his own life this year. And again, I had the pleasure of spending, I suppose, about 24 hours with Andy back in October 2023, and when I was really going through a personal struggle myself, and Andy was very, very helpful. He was a great help to me, and very, very tragically took his own life. I want to thank Bravo as well, just for being a top bloke, and for being a good mate. So that covers Tommy's close personal security team. But I also want to thank the crowd security team, which has recently been set up. And I want to thank, again, I'm not going to use surnames. I want to thank Paul for what he did in setting that team up. And he's got that team up to, I think, about 50 strong. Again, on a good day, we'll probably get 35 to 40 people out of that crowd of 50, which is really, really good, and has made a massive difference in keeping people safe. And that's what Paul always says. He's there to keep people safe. He's not there to grandstand or to be the big lad in the big picture. He's there to keep people safe, and he's doing it, as he's always said, he's doing it for his daughter. Again, I'll not name his daughter. As well as Paul, I think Jamie and John, and in fact, If it wasn't for John, I wouldn't have got in touch with Paul Thorpe. I met John, I think it was probably 5 years ago, I think about 2019, when Hearts of Oak launched. We had that event in Parliament Square. I think it was 2019. Maybe it's 2020, sometime around there anyway, but it all gets very, very hazy. But that's when I first met John. And John has become an absolute key member of the team, and he's really doing a fantastic job. And Jamie as well, two top guys. Could name loads of others, Ben and all the other guys that are involved in that crowd security. But again, there's a long list. You all know who you are, and we're massively grateful for your involvement and for you putting your hand to the plough and doing what you do. Again, credit where credit's due. The stewards team, headed up by Tony and Kaz, have again gone above and beyond the call of duty on many occasions. They do a lot of stuff in the background in organising the areas for the disabled, the press passes, and so on and so forth. So fair play to them. They've done a great job, and no doubt they'll do a great job again in the future events as they basically unfold. So that's the whole area of the organisation of the events. And again, obviously Paul that does the sound and what have you. Obviously he gets paid for it, so he's not a volunteer like the rest of us. But some really, really good people, and without the people that I've just mentioned, literally the events wouldn't happen. So when Tommy at one of the previous events, he said, "Oh, this wouldn't happen without Richard." Well, it wouldn't happen without all the other people that I've just named there as well, because they all play a massive and vital role in what happens in the events. I want to say there's two other people that I want to thank, and again I'll just use first names here, but they'll know who they are when they see the video. I want to thank Ian and Harvey. They've become very, very good friends. They've basically helped me in terms of travel arrangements and places to stay when I've come across the water. Again, because of the situation I found the business in this year, because of attacks, because of people cancelling me because of what I do, and because of my associations, it's made business extremely, extremely difficult. And a lot of people have actually helped me, and that has been very, very humbling and very, very moving. How much people have put themselves out to pick me up from airports, let me stay in their houses. And it's literally been the difference between me being able to come across to England and do what I need to do, and not come across to England and do what I need to do. The other people I want to thank are Jan and Kat and Ian, and it's a little prayer group that is there to support Tommy, and has also done a massive amount to support me spiritually and in my really, I suppose, trying to find my way back to God after drifting for several years. But I mean, again, that's sort of personal stuff I'm not going to go into. But the reality is that they have been a great help and a big and very, very good and loyal friends. And again, to me, loyal friends are hard to come by. So finding people like that is just an amazing thing, and it's a real blessing. I want to thank my friend David. And David has done an incalculable, it's difficult to say that when you've got a cold, a huge amount for our movement and for our people. He's a great supporter of Tommy. He's been a great help to Tommy, and he's a great friend to me. And I'm pleased and proud to call David a good and loyal friend. I want to talk about a couple of friends that I didn't know last year, but that I now count as, people that have massively enriched my life, that are loyal, that are kind, that are generous. And I'm going to talk about Paul and Danny. First of all, again, I don't need to say the second names, but well, yeah, I might as well, because we're on YouTube all the time, Danny Salmon and Paul Thorpe. I got to know Paul through John, who I mentioned earlier, and John set up an introduction with me and Paul, and we just hit it off, and he's one of those guys that you know that he's got your back, and he's very, very straight. He doesn't mince his words. If he doesn't like something, he lets you know, but he does it in a very gracious way and in a very gentle way. Same with my friend David. As everyone knows me, I'm a little bit more abrasive. Hopefully it's one of my resolutions in the new year, is to be a little bit less abrasive and a little bit as David always says, a soft answer turns away wrath. So hopefully I'll understand that and start putting that into practice. But Paul and Danny have become great friends, and I think we have good fun when we do those podcasts, and we'll bounce off each other and have a good laugh. So again, absolutely fantastic to get to know those guys, and again, other people that I've got to know not very well, but that have come across my path, and I've I must say I've got a lot of time for. Calvin Robinson, I think he's a great guy. He's really giving moral and spiritual guidance to a lot of people in the movement, including Tommy, and I think he's the real deal. He's a genuinely nice, kind man, and I have a lot of respect for Calvin. And Maya Tusi, got to know Maya fairly well, and again, Maya gets a lot of stick, gets a lot of flack unnecessarily in my opinion. And he's a good guy. He's intelligent. He's done a fantastic job of building that YouTube channel, and literally credit where credit's due. He has built that up from nothing, and he's now, I think, 750,000 people subscribed to his channel, getting 100,000 people watching his content every week. He's been a great supporter of the pledge, which is fantastic, because obviously when he or Paul or Jeff Taylor talk about the pledge, the figures spike, and we were all involved in the formulation, is that the right word? Formulation of the pledge, when we had that meeting in July in London. But it's great to see that he's still putting his hand to the plough, and he's still supporting it, and he's still promoting it. So again, many thanks to Maya Tusi for what he's doing. Now, this is where, as my brain gets older, I'm not as I forget who I'm meant to be thanking. So if I miss anybody out, I want to apologise well in advance. I think what I've got to do, again, I've been doing this since 2017. It's completely emptied my bank account doing this work, and has put a lot of pressure on my business in the past few years. So people have financially supported me this year for the first time ever, and I never asked for it. I was doing a live stream one afternoon, I think it was, and people in the comments, comment after comment, Richard, how can we support you? How can we financially help you? And I was like, well, I don't know. I've never done that. I don't know what to do. So I set up a couple of accounts for people to give to, and people have very, very generously helped me. I'm not going to name them because, again, I don't want to embarrass them. And there's a lot of people that have been very, very kind. But the reality is, without your help, I could not continue to do this. In fact, I would have been in a very, very, dire financial state. Because one of the things about this that people don't realise, it takes up a massive amount of time. To do one video that maybe lasts, 10 minutes, you've got to sometimes you record it 4 or 5 times. You've got to think about what you're going to say. You've got to work out what you're going to say. Sometimes you write down what you're going to say. So it's not like you just press record and start talking. Sometimes I do. And that's normally when I get myself into trouble by saying things that people take exception to. But on the whole, you kind of try and think about what you're going to say before you say it. So all of this stuff takes time. Organising the events is obviously a massive drain on time, but the pledge is another project that takes a lot of my time, because I run the website. I've got to look after the data. I've got to basically make sure the website's working, make sure the email system's working, etc., etc. All of this is basically very, very, very time consuming. So the support that I've got from people has been fantastic. And again, where I've had, people attack and try and destroy my business, the fact that there's been people in the background actually supporting me and helping me has made a massive, massive impact to me. Okay, so thank you to everybody that has financially, spiritually, emotionally, and every other way supported me in the past year. Again, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. What you guys have done has made it the difference between me being able to do this and not do it. And thank you to everybody that shared the pledge, that's got involved with the pledge, that's promoted the pledge. Again, we had a team of guys came down when we did the pledge to do a bit of security. There wasn't anything high profile. It was just, there was some security guys there just in case anything happened. And of course, nothing did happen. It was in a very, very nice hotel, very nice private hotel. But thanks for everyone that came. Thanks to Sammy for what she did when she made that fantastic video with Urban Scoop. I think thanks to Vicky for doing the editing. And again, more thank yous. The media team. There's a massive media team. Wendell and Lewis and so many good people in there. Wills, so many really top quality people. John Wong. I could just keep going on and on and on. So many top people that are involved in things in the background that nobody ever really sees. And again, it's just a pleasure and a real blessing to have that many people involved. Thanks to the lads in Northern Ireland that have been doing a demonstration outside a migrant hotel every single week for, it's come to 2 years now in my hometown. They're faithful, they're there all the time, they're massive supporters of Tommy. They've got his back, and so there's people everywhere, there's people all over the country, and thanks to the hundreds of thousands and possibly millions of people that support Tommy and everything that he's done and he's stood for. And I want to thank Tommy himself for what he's done and what he's sacrificed and what he's laid on the line, literally his life. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I think it's the most courageous thing I've ever seen a man do, is look at your worst fear. Look at your worst fear. Look at it in the face, and you go ahead and you basically walk straight into that lion's den. You get into that fiery furnace, because Tommy has PTSD because of his experiences in prison. Remember, he had his teeth kicked out by Muslim extremists, and that was seemed to be set up by the police in the very prison where he is now. And I want to thank Tommy for his friendship, and when I was down in the dumps back end of last year, basically really struggling, mentally, Tommy could have just thrown me under the bus. He could have gone, nah, he's a nutcase, I'm not going to have anything to do with him. He didn't. He basically made sure that when he did the event, I think it was in January in Telford, he made sure he invited me. He made sure he asked me to speak, and that meant a massive amount to me. That when my back was against the wall, he didn't abandon me, and that sort of loyalty buys my loyalty back in bucket loads. And I will always stand with Tommy, no matter what happens. I'm going to stand with him and support him and be a friend to him. And that's, that goes, it should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. And everybody that's watching this video, please write to him, please encourage him, please tell Tommy how valuable he is. Tell him that you're praying for him. Tell him how much you are interested in his well-being and what's happening with him, because it's really, really important that he knows he's got the support on the outside. And again, I apologise for my voice, but let's just thank Tommy for what he's done for this country and what he's doing for every single one of us. And I want to thank my wife, because that woman has put up with a lot from me. And because of the movement, for many years, there was massive problems that I caused. Now, what has happened this year more than ever before is my wife has become my biggest supporter, and she hated me doing the movement stuff, and to the extent that anyway, she hated me doing the movement stuff with a passion, right? And now I can safely say that she is my biggest supporter, and she has my back 100% in everything I do. And you know, she's happy for me to go to England and do what I do. Probably gives us some peace and quiet, which which she probably needs as well. But just thank you to my wife for being there. And again, when I was down, and she could have just kicked me into the gutter, she didn't. So again, that's a massive thing. And again, finally, I want to thank God, because I drifted for many years in my faith. I was a Chino, a Christian in name only, and I didn't deserve a second chance from God. I didn't deserve for him to basically bring me back into his fold and to help me and to care for me, and even through all my drifting and all my walking away from God, really, he never walked away from me, and he always had my back, even when I didn't realize it. And again, you know, a lot of people have this idea of God as some sort of pernicious, angry God just waiting for you to slip up and to basically cast you into hell or whatever. But do you know what? That's not Jesus Christ. That's not the God I serve. The God I serve is a God of mercy, a God of grace, a God of kindness, and a God who gave the ultimate sacrifice for weak and pitiful people like me. And I'm not saying that out of any false humility. I know what I am. Someone called me a hypocrite a few months ago, and I put my hands up and said, guilty as charged. Yes, I am a hypocrite, because every single human being is. Even with our best intentions, we're still filled with hypocrisy and sin. And if it wasn't for God's grace and God's mercy, we would be completely without hope. And that's the message of the Bible. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank God. I want to thank my wife. I want to thank Tommy. I want to thank all the teams. I want to thank everybody that I mentioned in this video. And that's a sincere thanks, because I know how much people work in the background. I know how much people do, and I know how difficult it is for some people to do this, and how much it costs them emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. And your labour's not in vain. And if nobody else notices, no matter who you are, whether you're a believer or not, and I know there's a lot of people watching this video that won't be believers. A lot of people that have mentioned this video won't be believers. But God knows what you've done. God knows your sacrifice, and God cares very, very deeply about what you do. And I maintain this, that we are doing God's work, and we've got to keep doing it in 2025. We've got to keep on going. We've got to come together like we've never come together before. We've got to stand together. We've got to put all our differences aside, and we've got to fight as one. And we've got to be unified, because the future of our country is hanging in the balance, and we've got to make sure that everything's right. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart, and just remember, your labour's not in vain. See you all soon.